one way to do it.
That's totally one way to do it. Oh no, I don't even have a teacup beside of me. I don't have my coffee.
Pause the live.
How?
We're missing a teacup. Because you were doing important real life stuff while I was just sitting here chatting nonsense. You guys can see mine though.
Oh, music.
Isn't it pretty? Yeah, I can hear it too. It's really loud. Everybody, don't worry. You can go and grab your teacup because that's what Sabrina's doing as well. I have been living off of this like lemon echinacea tea this week. I've got my whole little clear, pretty teapot here. So I love this sweater. I was so excited to pull my sweaters out because it's freezing here. And I was like, oh, I used to love, okay, this is silly. It has nothing to do with anything, but we're waiting for people to get on. So good morning, everybody. Doing weddings, there are certain color palettes that I love, and then other palettes that I got really bored of doing all the time. But this like a chartreuse green with deeper blues, some of my favorite color palettes to do for weddings. And so anyways, I put on the sweater today and I was like, oh, I know what cup I'm using. I'm using the blue one because I love these ones. Anyways, that's nothing to do with anything, but it's what I thought.
Do you know what's really, really amusing about that? And you don't know this at all.
What?
My husband and I, our wedding theme, peacocks. It was the peacock palette.
Yep.
Because I had, at the time, I had purple hair. And so I actually wore a blue dress that had feathers.
Oh, how fun.
Peacock feathers on it. And we had a purple wedding cake. And the inside of our wedding cake actually had like lime green frosting.
Yeah. To bring all the colors.
To bring all the colors together. And then in reality, our daughters, our oldest wore a blue tie-dye dress with green crinoline that my mom made. And then the twins wore purple dresses that matched hers that were the opposite. And our son wore a bright green bow tie.
I love that. That's so cute.
So I love those colors. They're just like.
See, I'm in honor of you and Drew. Good morning, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. I just have to say, our household, I just got dressed and ready legit 30 minutes ago because I didn't wake up until after 9:30 this morning. And then we had to like race out to tend to all the animals because it is NASCAR championship weekend, which I know doesn't matter to like probably anybody here, but it does to our family. And so we are like yesterday, today, and tomorrow, like it's down to the final championship races, right? And so it was so exciting. Our family did not go to bed till after 1 a.m. this morning because the race kept getting drawn out. It was like caution after caution after caution. But the person contending for the win was the driver that gave Olivia the checkered flag when we took her to her first race this year. And she like got brought down and was handed the checkered flag. And it was like the most exciting thing ever for her. And he won the championship last night. And so even Olivia was like laying there like, Mom, I'm so tired, but come on, Ben, come on. So she was so excited. And so, yeah, our household is, we're dragging a little bit today, but it's okay because we had so much fun.
Our house has been falling apart all week long.
Yeah, your house isn't doing so well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like each of the lives begin this way, that like my life is this catastrophe. But
it's just this constant cyclone of catastrophe. Oh. It really has been lately, though. I know, like we're laughing, but yeah.
It's been so bad. But
so I guess we'll start with the prayer request that if you all would like to keep Sabrina's family in prayer, genuinely they could use it because it really has been, it's been a lot.
We live in a tiny little shoebox of a house. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of us. We have a family of 6-ish. Mm-hmm. And then we live in about 945 square feet. Mm-hmm. And we have pets. And so we live in a tiny little house with a little itty bitty bathroom. And we have had plumbing problems for a week straight now.
Yeah, that's enough to really test. I mean, Yeah.
So we're going to just pretend that my house is perfect and this is the only piece of it anybody can ever see. I didn't show you my teacup because I was a dorko and didn't even grab one.
So I've got this. Well, I'll show you. This is me. What do you? Oh, I love that one.
So I know this is our daily china.
Oh, so pretty.
This is actually the china.
I love that. You guys are so fit. This is our daily china.
Well,
I know it is. I know
it really is. It's Noritake.
Oh.
So, and I have a gigantic set of this that we bought off of like Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
And I got an entire, like, I have the plates and the tea set and the whole thing. That's serving. Amazing. My husband bought it for me for Mother's Day, and he got it for like $75.
That's the best when people are like, I don't know, I'm just trying to get rid of it. And you're like, yes, please.
The woman had it, and she was like, my husband bought this for me when we were stationed overseas when he was in the military. And I wanted it before I came back to the States for big Christmas parties. And so she only pulled it out for Christmas.
China. Yeah.
China. And I was like, oh, I'm going to use it for everyday china, and I'm going to hand it to like my two-year-olds. And she's like, oh, that's fantastic. I love this. At least it's getting used. And we use it every day. So
that's why I love picking up china at thrift stores. Like our original set I bought at a thrift store that was going out of business. And so we bought it for literally like $0.10 a piece. And I love it because that's what our kids have always used when they're little, or just glass plates. And when something does happen, it's like, I don't have to lose my marbles over it because, oh no, we have to go to the thrift store again and find, oh no. So I'm super excited to have you all here with us today. I love that the community is growing. We have these lives, like getting on with you guys, like getting to hear from you all. I think it is the most exciting thing ever. I mean, I genuinely love it. And hopefully you guys got to see, I did pop on live yesterday and I posted a link. It's in the community tab on YouTube and it's in our Geneva group. So I did post it, but just a special message to you all. So if you missed that after this, you guys can go and look for it. I literally was like, I just need to do this. And so I posted and then I hopped on. So I didn't really give you any warning. So don't feel bad if you missed it, but I did share it for you guys to catch up with. You guys submitted some amazing questions and I just kind of saw a few of them come in and I know there's some like good deep ones. So I guess we can just kind of dive in and see how many we can get through. Cause I know there's some really, really good ones on there.
Sorry.
She's got to pull everything up and keep everything together and do all of that. So
I'm going to be totally honest. I'm usually not as functioning at this time of the morning.
Yeah.
And so I have to pull it together a little bit. And then again, because of all of the like issues that we've had, we've been up very late. And so I went to bed.
Let's just be completely honest here. Sabrina's dealing with major health issues, y'all, just across the board. Her household is quite literally falling apart all around her. And her family, her husband has worked a night schedule for the past couple of years. And so their family decided to adjust to his schedule so they could maximize their family time. So Sabrina is actually going above and beyond her normal everything to be up and to do this with us. So no, like I take this, like I do not take it for granted. I absolutely appreciate you because I know we're like, hey, your whole house is asleep. You've been up late dealing with plumbing issues. Thank you for waking up early and being here to hang out with us because we appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hey, yeah, look at Heidi is in Ventura too. Yeah, 9 a.m. bright and early on the West Coast. Hey, y'all. Oh, it's 10 a.m. in Edmonton.
It's very early when you went to bed at like 4 a.m.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that is. Mm-hmm.
I'm a little, I got it now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I love the story.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
You also, because we're live, you get a little less filtered.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't edit things, but like
no.
filtered, like I am less filtered because it's early and then I'm less filtered. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
It's cool. I'm giving you a thumbs up.
We're going to have to figure out how to fix that.
I'm going to have to just turn it
so
off
cute.
because, yeah.
Okay.
Which I don't even know how to do that. I'll have to figure it out.
Okay. Are you ready for a question?
I'm so ready.
Okay. Can you please cover the gap that we need to leave in marriage? Wives submitting to their husbands and letting them lead. If they aren't leading, leaving a gap for the husbands to fill. The question says, can you cover the gap? And then it goes into that. But I actually think that that's something that you talk about quite often. Mm-hmm. She does kind of continue in the next question, so I'm going to just... Okay. Also, what do you do when you feel yourself slipping back into a controlling place as a wife? So the way I read this is, I see a gap as important, but then like I keep struggling with it. Can you talk about why it's important, kind of thing? How do you catch yourself and fix it? Life is so much easier when we are in proper alignment and rank. But when things get stressful, it's easy to slip back.
Yeah, I think it's really important. We've talked about that, where when you and your husband aren't in the same space as far as kind of your walk with the Lord and where you're at. And, I think it's incredibly important for us to, if your husband isn't a biblical leader of the home, then of course, we're going to take that role to continue to train up our children and to stay discipled ourselves and to do all of that. And especially when you have an unbelieving spouse, absolutely, you have to kind of carry that weight for the both of you at this time. And when you start to see that development of your husband starting to, if your husband's an unbeliever and you're the believer, then you're going to be carrying it and living it out, showing your conduct to him so that he can come to a true saving knowledge of the Lord. But then when your husband is a believer, I believe that it is important for us to let there be a gap, right? Because so often we're like, well, if I don't do it, no one will. And it's like, well, maybe your husband's not stepping up as a biblical man because you're already doing everything, right? My husband and I have had this conversation many times where he's like, I don't know what you want me to do because you just step in and do everything. So like, what am I supposed to do? Because you just kind of steamroll everything. And even if I try to do something, I'm always stepping in and being like, well, I like it done this way. I do it this way. Here, let me just do it. I know I'm really bad at that. And I think it is so important to let there be a gap. Let there be a void that gives your husband a space that you can prayerfully be encouraging him to, step up into that. If it's, oh, hey guys, let's let dad pray with us, pray over us tonight. Here, hon, you go ahead. You want to pray with the kids before we go to bed or whatever, right? Maybe before you sit down at, for us, it was breakfast time was always that of just, oh, here, dad's going to read with us today. Let's let him, take lead here. And I think it's really hard because there really isn't like an answer to the question. Like there isn't just this do A, then B, then C, you'll get D. Like it just doesn't work. I don't think that, at least it never has in my life. I've never just had this like.
Nothing is just as simple as a formula like that. There's always the little variables that pop in and you're like, oh, but what? You have to figure those things out. But
yeah. And so I think it's important to really just stay very prayerful in the process. And really, when we ask the Lord to convict us and guide us of things, I think there's finding that balance for your family of making sure the foundation is still being kept strong while still leaving a buffer of even uncomfortableness. Because your husband might feel very uncomfortable by this. You might feel uncomfortable because things aren't going the way you think they should. I think that buffer of uncomfortableness is important because that's where growth and change and refinement and all of that takes place. And so, I'm not saying that it's easy, because it isn't. I think kind of just constantly reevaluating it and going, how far off are we, right? Are we still doing this? Are we completely falling off? Trying to find that line of encouraging your husband, but watching yourself that you don't turn into nagging, right? Because there's one thing to encourage and leave an opening and be like, oh, here, go ask dad your Bible question, or, let's go read with dad, or, kind of like prompting those open spaces. And then, it's Saturday and you didn't read with the kids this week, like I'm over here keeping track of all the things you're getting wrong. We don't want to be doing that. So I don't know. I think that is really hard, because I think it's kind of just a day by day continual reassessment of just, how best can you encourage those opportunities today, right? Every day, kind of looking at it. God's mercies are new each day. I think ours should be the same for for one another. And, what ways today can you maybe be encouraging or leave openings? What things can you do to, help the process, and really just holding that mirror up of, am I overstepping? I think we really do start to feel that in our spirit as we go. And don't be afraid of the uncomfortable. You know how, people, they teach you in sales meetings and stuff like that to be okay with the quiet pauses. So if I'm here to sell you something, right? Like, I don't need to just keep like filling in and saying something. Let there be that uncomfortable silence to essentially prompt the person you're selling to be like, okay, tell me more, or whatever, and like open up the next thing. But I think sometimes it is that, like, sometimes there is kind of that like uncomfortable buffer. So we just want to jump in and fill it, because it's like, like, let me just do it. And I think that we need to learn to sometimes be okay with that uncomfortableness, and let the Lord be, prompting our spirits, our husband's spirit, maybe even the kids, to kind of fill in what that next step needs to be.
I really like your example of asking your husband if he would like to lead the family in prayer. Mm-hmm. Because there's a difference between, hey, honey, you want to do this tonight? Because if he's saying he's a believer and he's just not ready to step up as leader, you are creating a safe space for him to do that in. You are giving him the opportunity, but then it's like, I heard it in my head. I heard the opposite, where the wife would, hey, honey, you want to pray with us tonight? No, I'm not ready yet. Blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Okay, kids.
Yeah.
Thank you for the day. I pray that Jeffrey will learn to pray with his family. Like, you can't, like, I hear that in my head, and I'm like, oh.
Lord, may you guide and lead those of us that need to be stepping up.
Yes. I'm like, oh, you can't, it's this like line between doing, encouraging your husband. Hey, you want to do this with us? Like, we're doing this as a family, because you are saying that you are seeing subtly and subconsciously, you are saying that you see that there is a lack of leadership. So you have to step up for it. So he already sees that. Mm-hmm. And so you're giving him the space to step up as leader. And then when he doesn't, you continue to step up as leader. Mm-hmm. And then if he does step up as leader, you don't do the prayer that night, and you are co-leader, and you make sure your kids are on track, or you're like, your job is encouragement in that situation.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember too, like, my husband started 5 or so years ago. Anyways, he started just reading the Bible with the kids. And I think what's interesting is, for me, I think of it as, we're going to read, we're going to study, we're going to answer questions, right? I go, this is how Bible time looks like, right? That's what my mind does. He just sat there and read with them. And then it became reading and discussing. And then it became, you know what I mean? It kind of just like organically grew into this amazing study. My kids will pick a study with their dad over a study with me any day. But yet I'm like, but I did all the things and I put it all together and like, look how, you know, it sets out on this beautiful platter. And they're like, yeah, but I actually get more from just like sitting down with dad and like reading and talking. Like for me, that was so mind blowing because it was like, I had this vision of like how it needed to look. And so if I had kept putting those kind of implications on my husband of this is how Bible study looks, you need to step up and be the biblical man and do the things, which trust me, like I did many things wrong in thinking that's how it needed to be. Now, I wasn't trying to, but that's just what I thought, right? And so when I kind of just let go, and then he didn't feel the need to like have that pressure put on him of like, I have to do this, but I have to do it how she does it. Like there's this, you know, metric that I have to fit in order to be a biblical man and lead study. You know what I mean? Like once that got taken off and it was just like, hey, we were going to read Proverbs. You want to read a chapter with us? You know, or something like that. Like kind of take off that and let it organically grow. Let the spirit really work in your family to bring it to what it needs to be versus thinking that like, you need to hand him this like manual of this is how family Bible time goes and this is what you have to do. That's part of allowing him to step up and be the leader because then he can guide it and lead it to what he sees it needing to be, right? As the Spirit guides him.
So you have to take all of your expectations off of it.
Yes.
But I expected it to go this way. I expected you to do this. I expected them to ask these questions and then it to lead to that conversation. You have to take off every ounce of expectation that even the kind that are embedded in you.
Mm-hmm.
The expectation that a Bible study means studying the Bible. No. In that moment, a Bible study meant reading the Bible with kids
mm-hmm.
and planting seeds so that then when their plants started to grow, you were there to help tend it.
Yeah.
But if you expected the seed to grow right then, you would be staring at the seed like, why aren't you growing? Why aren't you growing? What are you doing? Go faster. I'm giving you what you need. Why aren't you doing what I expect?
Yes.
You have to literally take all of your expectations off of it and allow him the space to genuinely lead.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. Hopefully that helps.
I hear it's an everyday thing and not a one and done.
Mm-mm.
And then as it becomes an everyday thing, you both grow into the roles that you have set out for yourselves. And you get more comfortable on them. And then you start to really bloom in that role because you have practiced it more.
1,000%. Yep.
Because in reality, ladies have practiced being leaders so much that now it's hard because we're not in practice of being the supporter. Mm-hmm. And you have to learn how to do the practicing of being the supporter.
Yeah. Yeah. That's perfectly said.
And practice is hard and it stinks sometimes. Yeah. And you don't feel like you're going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully that helps. I think it does. I think we kind of covered it all.
If not, really, tell us.
Hmm?
Really. Okay, again, switching up super, super, super different. Okay. Voting.
Oh, man.
Hey, you asked for questions. This is what you get. You get this. It was all your fault.
It is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Since voting's coming up.
It is.
Do we vote based off of, it's literally in quotations, so bringing heaven down on our morals as Christians, or do we just leave it up for the world to solve? There are lots of hot ticket issues this year, mm-hmm. and this person is very conflicted on how to go about it all.
This is my thought. We used to have...
They're only opinions right now.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're asking for is
we used to have oodles of podcasts on this topic, digging in deeper. And there are some great resources if you want to really, really dig in. I know my husband's listening. He could gather some resources for us because he knows where they are. But this is how I see it. The bottom line is the world continues to go from bad to worse until the Lord returns. Like, we don't bring heaven down. Like, we don't do that. It continues to go from bad to worse. We're told that. We see that. We can't change that. Besides the fact that we can go back to the beginning of time, there's no amount of legislation that changes people's hearts. Like, we're literally seeing the wrath of abandonment everywhere. This is how I view it. We have not voted, and I honestly don't remember how long. Not because we are just unaware of what's going on. I will tell you that my husband comes from a very, very political family, like literally military, law enforcement, worked for the president, worked at the White House, like very political family. This is what his family lives off of. And so his point was when he started questioning this, and he's like, but what are we doing? So I think what happens often is we see with Christians, they kind of pick the more Christian person or whoever's running with more Christian values, which I get and I understand. But our point was, just because that person may check a couple of the boxes doesn't make them like a biblically sound person. And so I know for me, as we research candidates and look at things and dig into it, I have not found anyone like I'm a citizen of heaven, but yes, I live here. Yeah, I cannot. Oh yeah, because we had a libertarian. That's what Braden says. We did vote, I think, like 8 years ago because there was a libertarian that was running, and so we're like, we're gonna go get our libertarian vote in, right? If you told me that I had to pick a American thing, like, we would be libertarian all the way. But we knew it wouldn't go anywhere. It was more so just like, you know what, we're going to go stick our vote in for him. But you're not going to be able to legislate and change the hearts of people. I have not found a candidate that I can biblically reconcile throwing my support to. And so just because it's the lesser of two evils, it's still an evil. Like, I'm not going to go pick you just because, well, at least it's the lesser of two evils. I'm just not going to get involved in it. No, thanks. I'm good. The world's going to keep spinning and doing what it's doing. And I'm not just getting into the cares and affairs of this world. I don't see it. Now, if you feel very convicted, I think especially with local politics and things like that, where you actually can make a change, and you feel, like you really do want to go put your support into something, go for it. Have at it. If you've prayed about it, you feel convicted, that's where you think you need to be, then have at it. But I think what happens so often is I see this even with so many sweet friends that I love, and I see on Facebook, they're so worked up over, we got to pass this bill. We got to do this. We got to do that. We have to stand up. We have to stop evil, blah, 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 or whatever. And I'm like, but how does the bill do that? Like, it may be a piece that supports that, but how does the vote change the hearts of people? Right? So, like, we could all work super hard and just make abortion illegal. Okay. But how does that change women's hearts? Right? I mean, we can break this down with everything: healthcare, immigration. I mean, we can go round and round and round for days with this on every single topic. And it's like, okay, it's not a sin to vote or to do something, but how is that changing hearts? How is that truly serving people? So I think when we get so focused of, well, I have to vote for this, I have to do this, I have to do that. Sure. But in your day-to-day life, week in and week out, all year long, year after year, what are you doing to help those problems? I think we all could hold the mirror up and we all should feel conviction. If you're that upset over that topic, immigration, needs for the poor, abortion, orphans, right? Whatever the topic is that gets us, I'm like, oh, I have to go through my vote for this person. What are you doing about that problem? Day in and day out, year after year, you in your life serving someone else. I think if we as Christians were more focused on that versus pastors preaching from the pulpit over voting, which y'all, I would walk out of a church so quick. But when that was happening, we had friends that their church, literally the pastor said, if y'all don't go vote this week, don't even mind coming in next week. And I was like, I would be gone so quick, but that just to me was bananas. Like, how from the pulpit, like that's your message? I was just.
I really respected my mom's. My mom has gone to the same church since I was a child. Mm-hmm. So it was my church when I was little. That was one thing I very much respected about that pastor is every voting season, he would be like, y'all, this is not my place to talk about what I think you should vote like. If you want to know my opinions on voting, make an appointment with me. We'll discuss it. We'll hash it out. No problem. I'm open. No, I will discuss it with you.
Great conversations to be had. Yes.
But the pulpit was not his place to do that. And I respected that. And he would say that from the pulpit. And I respected that so much because it was an opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know there's so many people, I've gotten so many meme messages. People are like, it is our God-given duty to vote, and you're just going to let the world go, fall apart because you're not doing it. And again, these are just things that you can't reconcile biblically. And that's where I said, if you guys, there's deeper resources that we can get into, scriptural and all of that. And I think that's great if that's something that's really hurting you. But I think the basis for me is, if you feel really convicted and you feel like that's something you really need to do, then you follow those convictions and you do what you think you need to do. I haven't seen a candidate that is worth my vote, that I can reconcile biblically. And so, there's a couple topics that would get me in. God doesn't need my vote. I love that, Jennifer. There's a couple topics that are local topics that if there was more like state and lower politics, if there was some movement going towards stuff, you bet your bottom dollar I'd be in there throwing my vote for a few select topics. But especially up to president, stuff like that, to be honest, it's not worth my time.
I love that you stated that you would go and do it if you felt called to do it. Mm-hmm. So you're not saying it's sinful to vote. That's not the line that's not the line you're drawing.
Never.
We're just saying that you do not feel this conviction because in the way that you just laid it out, you don't see a purpose in it. And if you do see a purpose in it, that's fine. We each get our own choice. That's you're voting for it. So we each get our own choice. Mm-hmm. I think everything with you boils down to one and done is the worst thing ever. Mm-hmm. It just across the board. You're anti one and done. You are so wholeheartedly anti one and done. Mm-hmm. You are a heart mender and a heart holder and let's do this together. Instead of, you did it, right?
Yeah.
No, let's do it together because I see that this is like an everyday walk that we all have to do because nobody is complete.
And I really will say that the world's going to be the world and it's going to do its thing. So I just don't get involved with it because That's what we're told is going to happen. What I am more concerned about is what's happening within the professing body of believers. So I think it is far more important as Christians to be paying attention to, again, if y'all have been around for the podcast, you know this, when the evangelical complex as a whole was holding up Donald Trump to like a level of Christ, that was far more concerning than anything else. When we as the Christian whole are putting all our eggs in the basket of a sinful man, regardless of how great his policies were or weren't, like, because that doesn't, like, okay, cool, whatever. When we are putting all of our hope and trust as Christians into a sinful man or woman, whoever's there, doesn't matter to me, that's where I'm like, let's start flipping through Bibles of every translation. How are you reconciling this, people? Like, that to me is far more, wow, we as believers need to wake up than anything else, because that's just very, very, like, that's a deep heart issue when that's what we're doing.
But it would bring me so much comfort if so-and-so were elected, because then I would be reassured. No, your reassurance is not in that voting person. It's not in that person. Your reassurance and your comfort is in Christ.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it's supposed to come from. And it's not the people in charge here.
I mean, and really, what all does a president do? You know, so I mean, we could go on for this today, and I'm like, so if you feel really convicted and you feel like it's something you need to do, go for it. If you're putting all your eggs in that basket, then I think there's a much bigger heart issue there that needs to be addressed.
I actually agree.
Yep. I love this. And yes, Heidi, I completely agree with you. Never could understand how professing Christians could throw themselves in with Trump, boggles the mind, and give us a black eye in the public who understands who he really is. Yuck. Yeah.
There are still, you know how you can, in voting season, you would like drive the roads and there would be those corner things and they'd have all the flags and all the people and the stuff.
The circus. Yeah.
Did your town do that? Because our town was like.
Yeah. Okay. Technically, our little town didn't as much, but if we went to the bigger towns around, we would run into it. We live where we live.
Mm-hmm. You know this. Like, that will be on a regular Tuesday still. They are still out there doing it on a regular weekday. We still have the same level of flag waving, truck. It's the same thing.
Perpetual circus. Yeah.
They still have all their faith put in a human being that's gonna fix it. It's gonna make it better. It's a human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't get it.
It's a human. I'm gonna look for some more questions. I remember one really great one that I was gonna ask you about. It has to do with Christian friendship.
Okay.
So give me just a second. Again, I'm highly, highly ill prepared. You really should fire me. I've told you this so many times this week. You should fire me.
Yeah. And what did I respond with? Good luck. You got to try harder than that.
Wow. That's how it's going to work.
Christian friendship is hard.
That's what the question was
friendship
about.
Friendship with adults is hard.
I know. That's why I thought it was such a great question. Here it is.
And neither of us really have any friends, so it's
that's why I wanted to ask you. I thought it would be great for you to answer it because, see, like, we're losers, so we know.
I'm in the right spot.
Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay.
And you're right, Joanna. Yeah, everybody who's in a position is there because God put them in that position. Like, Satan is God of this world now, and he is working and using and doing, and everybody's there because God is using them for a purpose, be it good or bad. He's using them for his final purpose. And I trust in him. He's going to do what he's going to do. Go for it, buddy. That's why you're you. For me, I feel like it's above my pay grade, so I'm good. Anyways, I just saw that comment and I thought that was great.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
I don't know how to word this question without coming across snarky.
Love it.
I tell you this all the time, just personally, side note, I tell you this all the time. I'm not being bratty, I promise. I just don't know how to word things. I'm terrible at this.
The last time you said that, it was in reference to how much food I eat. I eat a lot of food, guys. We'll just say that. I eat a lot of food, okay? And we were sitting, Sabrina was here, and she looks over, she goes, I don't know how to say this without coming off really snarky, but I do not mean this in a mean way. I'm like, what? Just say it. She goes, you eat so much food.
And then in comparison, I have the opposite. And you're like, you don't eat anything. What is wrong with you?
Constantly. My child at one point picked up food on a fork and went, here comes the choo-choo, and like fed it to her. So we eat a lot of food. Sorry. Snarky question. Go for it.
Okay. Since you are so set apart from worldly living, do y'all have any friends? Like, my husband is my best friend, but we both crave fellowship with others in church. We have had the hardest time making good friends because I'm pretty sure we've opened our mouths on something that we don't agree with, like Halloween, Taylor Swift, Hillsong. And I'm just assuming we scare people off.
Yeah.
What do we do when things like this come up? Do we stay silent to try to be friends? Do we try not as hard to be friends? Do we try to become the friends and pray that their hearts are changed? I wish you lived in Texas so y'all could be our friend.
I love that. I so get that because my husband is my best friend. We've been together since we were 14 and 17. And so even when our marriage was struggling and maybe we didn't like each other as much as husband and wife, we were still each other's best friends. So it was like, well, darn it, I'm mad at you, but hey, you want to go watch this or do this, like you're still my best friend. And I think that if your husband isn't your best friend, that is just revealing a deeper issue that needs more focus. So I think for any of us, that's a great time to hold up that mirror and say, who is my best friend? Because if it's not your spouse, then that's something that needs to be worked on. As far as having friends outside of that, we really noticed for us, we thought we had a lot of friends. We had our wedding business. It became quite successful. And we had quite the crew of friends. We were those people that showed up with the kids and we homeschooled and we ran the business and we did all the stuff, and everybody just saw kind of that like outside successful part. And we're like, man, y'all are the best. And everybody wanted to hang out with us and we got invited to all the things and did all the stuff. And woo, look at us.
Yeah, you're a cool kid, blah, 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 blah.
Right. Yeah. So it was like, look at us. We're the cool kids with all these friends. And then we get this, we feel like we want to get out a little bit. We're starting to feel the Lord kind of churning us. We don't know what it is. So we get this property right out in the country. And so then it was like, cool. All of our friends, we all work in the event industry. So we all are off during the week. And we're like, man, now we've got this cool place outside, or out of the city. We can all come hang out and like, look how fun. So we hosted stuff all the time at first. And then the more that we really started to grow and become refined and truly give our lives over to the Lord, people stopped coming out, right? And then our business started drying up. The Lord was really working there. And we said, Lord, we trust you. If this is what we, walk away from, this is what we walk away from. We had convictions and some issues. And so we said, all right, we let the Lord just dry that up. And it was amazing how when all of a sudden we weren't the cool kids anymore, we didn't have friends anymore. Right? They just wasn't worth it. And when we would run into people at different events and things, it wasn't the same all of a sudden, right? It just all of a sudden it was like not what it used to be.
Friends are overrated. You always have a friend in Jesus.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And then we started with the friends that had stuck around up until this point. We're like, okay, these are our crew, right? This is our tribe. And so we'd start sharing things. And then we would hear, word on the grapevine was, oh, I don't even go up there anymore. All they do is talk about Jesus. That literally was the thing. And we're like, well, what else is there to talk about? Like, I'm not interested in those same things. And then even some of the people that were the more churchy of the group, then it was like, I mean, we live in elevation country. You're right there in Bethel's back door. We're in elevation country. And so we're like, guys, how can you reconcile this? Like, look at this, look at this, look at this. Like, how? Well, I just love Furtick. That's it. End of story. You know what I mean? And it was like, but biblically, and nobody wanted to go to that. And so for us, it was just the more and more we went, we really did go through a season, I think, where it felt very lonely almost because, I think Brandon put it in one way. He really dug into seminary, and I don't think it bothered him in that way because he just was being fed so much. I think I used the YouTube channel as my space to go to, where I was like, okay, well, I'll just share over here, and you've got to be interested in Jesus and all this stuff to some degree to even be hanging out on our YouTube channel. And for us now, I mean, it really is, we do not go looking for friends. We focus on our family, on our marriage, on our relationship. Not that friendship is bad, but it shouldn't be any of our focus, I don't think. I think the Lord puts people into our lives that should be there. And so for us now, the closest people that we have in our lives all come from this YouTube channel, our church group that we have online. I mean, you and I, that's how anybody that we have that's close in our life. I mean, I could pull up my phone right now, and the only people that you're going to see in my recent thing, church, my husband, church, my kids, church, literally. I mean, that's all you're going to get now because that's what it was. And so I think, is it a little different? Is it maybe not? But I wouldn't compromise. I mean, it's one thing to have an acquaintance and have a thing, but I don't feel, why would I go and pursue effort into trying to make something be there if it's not? If the Lord has someone to put in your life, the Lord has someone to put in your life. And I don't think we should have to, kind of compromise that. I think when we really start to focus on our family, on our marriage, and grow that, it will bring the right people. And I used to hate that when we would make friends like at work or with our business or whatever. And it was always like, oh, well, get a sitter for your kids and let's all go do this or let's all go do this. And we're like, ooh, we don't do that. Like, we do stuff with our kids. And it was like, with your kids. I mean, we had friends and they wanted to do this photo shoot in Iceland. I remember they wanted us to come up, fly up with them. And we were going to do so we were going to do this. And we were like, because they didn't have kids, they prioritize their stuff. And for us, it was just such a, would that be awesome? Yes. Who doesn't want to go to Iceland and do this mega amazing photo shoot and all these things? I would love to do that, but I'm going to have to prioritize all that money, plus leave my kids, plus, you start doing all this. And we were just kind of like, I mean, that would be cool. Yeah. But so now flip that to all of our friends that we have are kind of the same as us. Their marriage is their priority. They do everything with their kids. They do everything together. And it's not like we have to try to fit. We just do because we have the same values and priorities. And so I think when you stick to your guns with the values and priorities, then the Lord will naturally filter those people as they come through your lives. And it just fits. Whereas seeking, I have to, well, this person's been my friend for so long. Well, I can't talk about this with this person. Well, this person likes things these way. Life's short. Why are we wasting our time on stuff like that?
I really am the typical loser. I do not have, you are literally my only friend.
Because you are the shyest human being known to man. Let's just be for real.
I really, really am. And the only reason that I can do this is just because you and I have been friends and we talk so often on camera.
That you think you're just talking to me and you're ignoring
I
that there's
genuinely think that I'm talking to you. So you guys see this like very unfiltered version of me. And if you were to ever meet, my husband and I were talking about this, if you guys were to ever meet me in person, this is not what you would get.
You'd be over there with one of the grocery bags on your head, the paper ones. So our first heavily minded home conference that we have is Sabrina.
I'm gonna be just dressed in black, and I'm gonna have a lampshade over my head, and I'm gonna be in the corner pretending I don't exist, literally.
But that's genuinely you. Whereas you have me, who's like, "Hey guys, what's up?
Have you met my friend Sabrina?" I'm like,
That's why see, it's good that the Lord crossed our paths, because you would still be. Okay, y'all, I'm just going to tell the story right here. Sabrina is so shy. She sent me an email. What was this, 5 years ago or something? I still have it, which she hates. She is so shy that it took up all of her courage after almost a year of building courage to actually send me an email just saying that she appreciated what we were doing.
Yeah.
And it was the most amazing. Like, I literally read it out loud to our household because I was like, hey, that really nice lady that comments every once in a while, she emailed me, guys, look at this. This is so cool. And I read it out loud. And then I find out years later that literally took every ounce of courage she ever had.
I literally sat like bawling while typing it. It was awful. I really truly am that guy. It's like,
You are.
It's horrific. So
You're so brave on camera. You are. I am so proud of you. It's because she's pretending it's just us. She's going to go have a panic attack for the rest of today. Just heads up.
Every single Thursday when we record our normal videos,
podcast,
I send you a message, and I genuinely, heartfeltly mean it. Delete the video we just recorded.
Everything I said was dumb.
Delete it. Everything I say was dumb. You have to delete it. Oh wow, I am the biggest idiot. You literally have to delete it. You cannot put that out.
Yep.
And every week she's like, no, we're fine. We're fine. And then
I screenshot and send to her the nice comments you guys leave her, just to be like, see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Brandon's right. This is how we first started talking. We used to do a live every single week, which I kind of miss. And we would get you to come on. You would comment, and that was how we first started talking to you. Yeah.
I would shake and cry and type to you guys. And then I would go have lunch in a parking lot with my husband. I would bring him a sandwich, and we would have a date in a parking lot.
Yep. And you would tell him how brave you were to make it through commenting on a live stream.
I did.
Yeah.
So
Sabrina doesn't make many friends, is what the story.
Genuinely, I was part of a
knit night.
I'm gonna be really, really honest. I've gone through a couple of really rough patches in my life. Life-altering, devastating patches where everything changes. And so my mom came over and said that she was going to require me to go and be social for one night a week, and she was going to take and watch my children, and I had to be social because she was afraid that I was going to lose my mind. I had 4 kids, 3 and under, and I was doing it alone at the time. It was a lot.
Yep.
No. She made me go out and meet people. And I was like, I don't know how to meet people. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this.
Yep.
So I taught myself how to knit so that I could meet people because that's how lame I am. I thought knitting would be the cool thing and get me friends.
It is. And now you're so cool. You're the knit lady.
I am so lame. I'm like an 80-year-old guys, I'm so
love it. I think it's awesome.
So she made me go and meet people, and it was awful. I hate the like reaching out, and I hate it.
You do.
So I had a couple of like acquaintances that I had from Knit Night, and that we would like conversate and talk, and we have children the same age. And so we tried being friends. My values
in a very different way.
Some of my values were so different that we just kind of like clashed on everything. So we remained acquaintances and just had a social knit night where, you know, we could grab a cup of coffee, and it was a group of a couple of people, and we could grab a cup of coffee and talk about the things that we did have in common, but only for that small amount of time. These were not my close friends. These were not my tribe. I know that's a weird way, but like they weren't. And I know you don't know this, because this is how Heidi finds out all these really embarrassing things about me. And I'm like, I know you don't know this, but like, here's this thing. And she goes, why haven't you told me about this? And
here we go. Here's one.
I have a prayer journal.
Okay.
And I just have things that have been like listed out, because quite often I am so overwhelmed that bullet points is how my brain thinks. It's just like, okay, here, God, here are my bullet points. I'm so overwhelmed. You know, you understand it all. Okay. I found it recently. And right before I met you, I literally prayed for people who were going to be like-minded. I can't do this anymore, God. I can't do it. I need like-minded people. I can't be this alone and this weird all the time. Like, God, I know I'm weird. Come on. I got it. I'm a weirdo. But like, I can't be this weird. How am I this weird?
And look at that.
So
how cool is that?
That's how I literally, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just, God's gonna bring me people. I kind of think, I had this conversation with my daughter, our oldest, that I kind of think of it like when women in the romance movies,
Okay.
when the women stop looking for their love and they're giving it all up, that's when they find their peace.
Around the next tree-lined road.
That one. Well, I told her, my daughter, that if she stopped putting so much pressure on herself to make friends, that maybe it would give God the space to bring her friends and the right friends. Maybe she was occupying that space that God was going to bring her stuff by trying to fill it with other things and other people, and the people she thought was the right people. And so we talk about God bringing in the right people.
But sometimes, usually first, he has to remove the wrong people. But that's a genius point, because thinking about that, like, I'm thinking of some of the top relationships, friendships that we had, Brandon's on here, so he's probably thinking of them at the same time. But I think of, these friends that we had in the industry that it was like the power couple to be friends with, because like their business was good and our business was good. So like, we'll be friends and like, we'll do more stuff. And like, right. It's all these like plays, like these are where we need to position ourselves. And if we would have continued to try to pursue that, even though we are on two separate pages, even though we were totally going this way, they're going that way, like if we would have kept trying to make that work, then again, you know how we're talking about that uncomfortable buffer? We had to get to that uncomfortable buffer. But now I look at those closest to us. I mean, all getting to know you all, you and your family, our church family, right? All these like people like that we spend our time with now, even our own family relationships, because we went through it with family too, where there's certain family that were like, no thanks, family that didn't want anything to do with us, family that we didn't want anything to do with, we started having that. But if we hadn't let that uncomfortable buffer and that taking out part happen, this part never would have happened. And it was that point where it was like, maybe instead of me thinking I need to fill this, because right, like if I want to be successful, I have to have successful friends. If I want to be this, I need to have that. If I need to, you know what I mean? Like I need to have my little crew, you know, and that's, again, I think that mentality where we treat church like a country club, right? I need to be able to, and I picture this so vividly. We used to do ridiculous weddings at like the super ridiculous country clubs, right? But it really is the most uncomfortable thing in the whole wide world when you walk into these during the week for like meetings and stuff, because you can see the cliques, and we're talking like down south, old money, you know, people. And you're like, I don't belong here. And all of you are judging me as such, you know, but you walk in and you see the things and you're like, I do not fit in here. I am feeling that very solidly. Right. But then we feel like, well, I want to fit into that. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, you're right. That's not my spot. I'm going to let that uncomfortable buffer be there. I'm going to give it to God and let him bring in and him grow that organically and in a way that is really solid. And again, keeping our priorities in order, relationship with the Lord, your husband being your number one human relationship, your family, right? Your first ministry. And then whatever comes, and just let that, you know, be what it is.
I really think that's kind of how it ends up going, though.
And then life's so much more enjoyable because you're not trying, like, I think of the things we used to do for the sake of friendships. Why? Maybe that's just getting older. I don't know. I tell that with our kids because we've had that conversation with our kids and they're like, we don't have friends. And I'm like, yes, you do have friends. And they're like, well, but they're like family. They're not like real friends. I'm like, they're still your friends. Like, what are you talking about? You know, like what?
We had this very interesting conversation because we were watching a thing about third places. Have you heard the concept of third place?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Like, nope.
First place is your house.
Okay.
Second place is school or work, your job.
Okay.
And then third place is all of the meeting places that society and culture has.
Right.
So
okay.
When you think of cultures, when you think of Rome, you think of the Colosseums. And when you think of like, there are these great meeting places where culturally you think of the coffee shops in certain cultures, and you think of pubs in other cultures, and you think of the TV show Friends, where they would have that cultural meeting place where they gathered. We have lost, as a society, we have lost third place. We've lost all of our third places.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then that really nasty thing that happened a couple of years ago that like shut everything down, it shut down our third places, and our third places never opened back up. And society never opened back up to that cultural third place again. And our children, it said that so many people had lost their close friends during 2020. Mm-hmm. And my son says, well, what defines a close friend? And I went, you get to define that. You are the person who defines what a close friend is. Like, I guess there's a definition, but in reality, you feel what a close friend is, and you're the only person who can move friendships up or down, and like that's a preference and an opinion thing. Mm-hmm. And so 3 of our children and I got into this very interesting conversation about what they believe friendships were and what a close friend is versus an acquaintance, and how many people have close friends versus acquaintances versus family.
I think we'd all be wise to really think about that stuff. Yeah.
And when you move from a acquaintance to a close friend, and then can you move from a close friend to a family member, or does that have to be by blood or marriage? And it's just this very interesting dynamic discussion between our children. And we've come to the conclusion that because we've lost a lot of these third places, friendships do not have availability to, the seeds can't be planted as easily. There's not a scattering of things. There's just not. And so it's harder to develop an in-person friendship because third places have become online.
Yeah.
this.
It used to be you were the weird person that stayed in an online chat room versus going to the local whatever. But now we're all mainly in that online chat room versus going to the, maybe we only go to the place here or there, or something. Yeah.
So I think that as a whole, we have lost our close friends. We have lost our connections with people in person and really like wholehearted connections. We've missed that. And we just have these like passing people that we meet and that we do things with. And in some ways, I think that's okay, because we should not latch on to people that we should not latch onto. Yeah. We shouldn't be Velcro for society to throw crud at us and then we walk around with it.
I'm stuck with them because this is who I have now. Yeah.
No, we should have friendship groups where we discuss and debate, but in a friendly environment where you know that it's safe. Because that's the thing about a friend, is that they're safe to like bounce ideas off and play devil's advocate, because that that's not me, that's just I'm just spitballing things and I'm conversating and I'm chewing on it and figuring it all out. If you don't have people to do that with, it's really hard. And when you try to do that with the wrong people, it gets you in a lot of trouble. Because then your ideas start to conform more to their ideas instead of their ideas conforming more to your ideas.
Yeah.
And you have to be that weirdo who talks about Jesus and who brings it all back to, well, no, we don't do that because actually it like all boils back to this. And here's our why. If they don't have the same why, it's going to be very difficult to continue to walk with them.
Yeah, I think having a community is important. And that's why genuinely, I love doing these lives. I love having the Geneva group and having the space where like, there's now this like net that's gone out through YouTube and a handful of us that are like, yes, like, please, we've kind of all, come into that. And that's why we started the Geneva page, was like, let's have a safe space for a community to come where like, we all, I'm sure, are different on many different levels, but like, there's this baseline, right? Can I reconcile this biblically? That's always our baseline, right? So like, we have a safe space that we can come, that we can connect, that we can do that. We can't all.
Whoever is Jennifer. Yeah.
I was just going to read that. Yes. Yes. So, right. So like we have that. And I think that's that. And that's what I was going to bring up was Jennifer. Yes. I love your comment, because I actually, when I did some of those mama chats and I had Marina on when we did one a couple of years ago, her and I talked about this, and I think it's so true and such a great thing to remember. But then Jennifer just stated it perfectly. So we're just going to read what Jennifer said. She said, I talked to my kids about friendship using Jesus. He had thousands of people who knew him, a few best friends, but just one stayed to the cross. I told you, if you find a John, keep them. And Marina and I were talking about that because she was like, she's got, at the time she had 7, how many kids do they have then? She had 5 or 7, I don't remember, but she was talking about, because it's been a few years and their family has grown since then. So I can't remember off the top of my head. Marina, if you're watching later, I'm so sorry. But we were talking about it, and she was like, sometimes I rationalize this, because she was kind of feeling bad. Like, it's so hard to keep up with everyone. And then you kind of feel bad, like, oh, I'm not keeping up with all the people. But then she was like, hey, Jesus had 12. So my family, I think at that point was already like 7. So she's like, really? I only have room for a few more, like I can't have all of those. And not that I'm saying we can only have 12 close people in our lives, but I think it kind of just opens that of remember that even Jesus, thousands, but then the 12, but then at the end of the day, John. And,
it's the layers of the friendships.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think that the tribe is supposed to be large. The tribe is the thousands of people that collectively, it would be Christianity for us, and true Christians, like our tribe are actual Christians.
Right. The church.
The actual church, not a building, but the church would be our tribe. And then we would have like a couple of little people that we caravan with. And like in our tribe, we'd walk beside of them because they're like our little network here. But yeah, like I see it kind of as these groups.
Yeah, and I think the last point of that, I think for all of us is just to reflect on is, why are we yearning for that friendship? Is our walk with the Lord kind of stagnant? I've got to figure these things out. Is it not growing well? How's our marriage? Is something missing there? Now I'm thankful. I'll throw Sabrina out there again. My husband and I both have come to Sabrina and been like, struggling in our marriage a little bit. We need a third party to help us out. Can you, like, I know you love us both, and you, like, can we just, like, him and I are having an issue communicating right now. Can we share with you and you can help us bridge this gap? So our friendship's great. Yes, absolutely. But is your walk with the Lord, how you doing there? Your marriage, how you doing? Your kids, your in-home relationships, how are they? And if you're going to friends outside of the home before husband, children, the Lord, right, all of this in here, then something's off. And so if all of that is looking great, and then the Lord starts bringing and putting people in your path after that, fantastic. Prayerfully walk through those. But don't feel the need. All of us probably have social media accounts with so many hundred friends, or, whatever that you have, that, old people from high school on your Facebook or whatever it may be. Like, we don't have to try to stay up with everyone. You don't have to be, first call basis with everyone in your church group. You don't, again, if the Lord is naturally placing those things in your life after your priorities, that's fantastic. That's amazing. I know I have a handful of those and I'm very thankful for them. But again, this is my first, and then those. And sometimes it takes maybe you standing up and being a little bold. I will be honest and say that Sabrina did not talk to me regularly for the longest time. Brandon my husband is her pastor, and she would talk to him a lot. I would reach out to her and she would talk to me sometimes. I thought she just maybe didn't like me that much because she would normally respond to Brandon before me. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. I was just trying to be helpful, but if you don't want to be my friend, that's cool. I'll go sit down. And it took her getting really sick and me being a little obnoxious and in her face and being like, I am going to message you every single day and ask you how I can pray for you. And I'm not going to stop. So you might as well just respond to me because I'm going to keep messaging you. So sometimes it does take us kind of stepping up to be there for someone and be like, hey, you, I'm here.
I knew you were a girl and that you were not going to like me. So I figured I just might as well not become friends with you so that I would not disappoint you and not have your husband hate me as well as you, because then at least I had a Brandon. Because if I met you and you obviously you were going to hate me. So then you were going to tell Brandon that he couldn't talk to me. And then I was just going to lose everybody because you're a girl and girls do not like me.
Well, I think that we can finally put a nail in this one here, Sabrina. Andrea said it best. Look at Sabrina shining. You go. I love it. See, so friendships can be out there when our first priorities are in order and the Lord organically places them. So hopefully that answers, we did 3 questions today? Yep. But I think they were good ones.
But this is supposed to be like.
And now you have girls that like you, even though you're weird and you love knitting and think that's cool. Which I'm just going to throw it out there. Brandon's on here. But Sabrina, you guys don't even know this. I'm going to tell you all. I know we need to get off here, but I'm going to tell you all. There is a storefront on our historic Main Street that's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I've told my husband so many times that I want to take out a lease on this building. And he was like, honey, you're crazy. A, you have no money. 2, what are you going to do with this retail storefront building on Main Street? And what I think it needs to be is this adorable shop, like maybe a little coffee shop, whatever, but gift shop where we sell the amazing things that Sabrina makes. Like, you all do not even know how crazy talented this woman is. And she doesn't think it, but she's phenomenal. And I want to go take a lease out on this shop and sell all of her stuff for her, because it is the most creative, high quality stuff like that you can get. Yes, it is. And so that is my like, Lord, if there was a way that we could make this happen, I will so put all of her stuff on blast for her, because it is phenomenal. And look at this. Look at Sabrina. That's what all of this is for. Sabrina is finding a tribe, and we're going to I'll continue to, sometimes you need that friend that's a little more like, hey, everybody, come look and see what Sabrina made. I don't have anything in this room because I'm in Brandon's office. Otherwise, I'd go grab you guys a collection of things. But I think that there are reasons.
This is for Olivia. I made her a Weeble.
Oh my goodness.
You know, like a Weeble.
Oh, wait, no, I do have.
She asked for the little people that she wanted. And I was like, you want how many little people? And
I am in Brandon's office. I do have something in here. I lied, because one of the first things we ever saw that you made was you sent my husband this. And why? Why did you send him this, Sabrina? It's a little Mario mushroom guy, right?
Well, it's a one-up mushroom, because Brandon is always so concerned about giving people, this is going to sound horrible how I word this, but extra life, and making sure that they get to heaven so that they have that extra life. That I made him a Mario mushroom that was a one-up guy, because that's what he's concerned with. And that's, yep.
And he keeps it right here on his desk at all times.
I'm a dork, and I'm super sentimental. And yeah, it's
the cutest thing ever. See, on the I know. I think we need to do that. So, family first, marriage first, walk with the Lord first. I know those are 3 firsts.
Yeah, but that's the right order to put him in. Yes.
And then the Lord will bring those people that will then make you go live before the internet.
Ugh.
I know. You guys, I tell her that she makes poo face because I compliment her and she gets uncomfortable, but I keep doing it because that's how I show my love. It's by being overly aggressive. And so I do. I compliment. I go, but you are so awesome. You're going to feel it. We're going to one-up you. So thank you for being here, because I do genuinely know how much I am torturing you right now, but I really do appreciate it. And I'm glad that I get
You'll get a message that's like, delete everything. Delete it. Delete the internet. Go. We get one of those this afternoon. Yeah.
But I think that's what's important, because look, again, if neither of us wouldn't have done the process that we just shared, neither of us would be here in the spot, which, I mean, you might prefer, but I think it's good for you. So thank you, ladies, for all of your questions and for hanging out with us today for this nonsense. I know, genuinely, I do appreciate y'all so much. I love seeing the group grow. I love seeing everybody in there. I'm really excited to see what the Lord has in store for everything going forward. I know we didn't get to all the questions, so luckily we've got a chatty coffee date every Saturday. We can keep working on these here next week. But genuinely, thank you all for hanging out here with us and having a good time. And oh, yay, Crystal Ann says it was her first live coffee chat. I am about out of tea, some more lemon echinacea for me, and hopefully our households try and get through these stinking head colds. So hopefully we'll get through it here soon too. Oh, awesome. Heidi, Kathy, thank you. Yes. That's awesome. A lot of first times here. So thank you all so much. If there's ever anything at all that we can do with you or for you, let us know. We're happy to do so. I was reading through all the comments from the video I did on Monday and really been thinking about a lot of things as far as the channel and what it is here. So really still just kind of thinking through that, but excited to see where it goes. I don't know. You know how you can just feel God moving and doing things sometimes? You're like, I don't know what's happening, but I can feel the ground moving. I feel like that is where we're at.
Something is shaking. Something is moving. I don't know where it's going to fall or what's going to happen, but I can feel movement happening.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when snow's coming, you know how like you can tell in the clouds, you can like feel it in the atmosphere, like like, ooh, snow's coming.
You can smell rain before it happens, and you're like, ooh, I smell it. Mm-hmm. We live where it doesn't rain very often, so it's like, ooh, I can feel it. Ooh, I feel. Rain's gonna happen. Rain. Yes, like that. We're getting the first inklings that something's going to happen. Something's shifting. Something's growing.
We have a community, a tribe now, right, of everybody here. Like, I don't know. I think that just makes it feel exciting. I don't know. It feels nurturing in a way, which I know I've longed for a long time. So it's exciting seeing that with all of y'all. So genuinely, we appreciate you. We love you all. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Y'all pray for Sabrina because she'll be having a panic attack for the rest of the day. And that's our goal. Our goal is to one day get to the point that we put out lives and Sabrina is feeling good. That's what we're going for. The confidence will come one day. I just know it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We love you all. We will leave this up for anybody who missed it, and we will see you guys for sure next Saturday and wherever I show up this week. So see y'all then. Bye, friends.
Bye.